Hi, everyone. Firstly, thanks for joining me today. And hi, Asad, and thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity as a Microsoft startups. Today, we will be talking about being a CTO in a startup. But just beforehand, I want to give a little bit information about myself. I'm Melda Akin. I'm actually start coding when I was 12 years old. It comes from my childhood, and I remember that my mom was complaining about the keyboard noise in the middle of the night, and that passion brought me to the computer engineering department and then intelligent engineering systems master degree. And 4 years back, when I realized that working at night, working at the weekends weren't enough to succeed, so that's why I start working on my own startup, D14.ai, full time. And what do we do in the D14 AI? It's actually a scheduling and optimization company. And we are in healthcare and the logistics sector. We help companies to manage their systems and the business operation in an easy way. And we do help them to create personalized journey and the workforce scheduling. So that's basic information about me and D14.ai. So now let's get started about talking about being a CTO in a startup. So I want to tap into the three things: responsibilities, managing the team, and leading the growth. So I think before starting, we need to talk about the definition of the CTO. Who is the CTO? So it's actually a bit different being a CTO in a larger organizations or maybe the corporate life, even the startup and the early stage startups. When I talk to people from Middle East, Europe, US, and also when I ask this question to myself, it's a bit challenging to give one definition. The first question that I get mostly is it all about tech? I would say no. It's not all about writing a code. It's not all about just managing the team. There are many pillars that I will be explaining. Being the non-technical founder, technical founder, or in terms of being a CTO. So what I realized that in larger organizations, it becomes like maybe the 10%, 20% hands-on code, but some of them they do more. But in early stage, especially the very early times, you do many things like a bit of everything. So the CTO responsibilities in a startup, of course, it starts with the building an MVP. There should be a product that serves the masses and the clients that they are happy with it. And actually, it's a bit challenging because you need to know in that stage how to code, how to build an architecture, how to pick the right technology and the language. Are we going to use the microservices or are we going to do something linear? Which cloud system that we're going to use? And DevOps, it's actually one of the part that we all worry about because during these startups, it's not easy to have someone as a full-time that covers the DevOps. So it's all about deployment pipelines, how we're gonna keep the production system up and go. QA and test, as you know, softwares we have always bugs, so we need to have a specific procedures, process, methods, and the test team. So these are the mostly count as a technical side that CTO needs to cover. So when it start growing, these roles can be given the experience and the fully hands-on tech leads or the senior people. The other part is actually sometimes it's a bit difficult word, and maybe some people says that the terrible word comes as a management. Hiring a tech team, managing the retention, managing the product, managing vendors and the client relationships, it's actually extremely important. I think I was lucky enough, and I believe that I'm still lucky enough that I was surrounding with the brilliant engineers since I'm also engineer and I was also coder. So as you can imagine, I start hiring my friends first. Then I start looking into my students, then friends of my friends and friends of my students and friends of my employees. Knowing the people, their skills, what keeps them at night, how you can motivate them, how is the communication with them, and are we aligned on one vision and one mission? So that's very challenging, and then it requires a lot of time investment to be able to find the right talent and right time, and also to give them the right responsibility to be able to scale, grow, and in the meantime to keep them all together. So it's one of the challenging tasks as a CTO responsibilities. Second one is managing retention and the managing product. Managing retention is also sound like an HR, but understanding what they are happy with it and what they can do, and what are the areas that is an opportunity for them to learn and grow. These kind of things actually requires some process, more understanding and engagement. And managing the products, again, in the early stage, we mostly, the realize, and it is the truth, that the whole system, starting from the software language that you use, goes to the cloud system, maybe the product, it's gonna change. Nothing stays static, so everything is dynamic in the software development. So managing the product, understanding what clients need. So in the 14 AI, we are obsessed with the customer, so we want to make them happy. We want to understand what is their actual need, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. So it becomes like a little bit of everything, but for the early stage, that's the truth. So we're tapping into, the technical team, DevOps, hiring the tech team, HR, product management, and mostly sometimes project management and product management seems similar. Yes, but also no, because one of them focus on the product, one of them focus on the mostly the process and the project delivery. And once you develop uh, MVP or any product, we also work with other vendors. There are cloud system, there are system we pay for the licenses, there are several options. So this person should be understanding the differences and understand the back end stage and the market and also the customer side, because these becomes like the big puzzle that the CTO roles need to manage. So the part is that actually being a technical founder, do we need a CTO or do we need to be hands-on on everything? So I would say first early stages, yes. I was also keep coding 4 years back and the 3 years back. Then after that, when I found my brilliant colleagues, so I start delegating to them, having the MVP and DevOps. We set up the QA and test. Still, I spent a lot of time hiring the right people. We set the values, we set our expectation, and these people also should be happy. And fun part, for example, for me as Melda, it's extremely important, and everyone should do whatever works for them based on their skills, and they should be happy about it when they finish their work. And in the technical founders, once we look at the market, for example, we have great examples, maybe not the best. Bill Gates, Elon Musk, they are excellent what they have been doing. And they start, of course, the coding, and they are very hard coded, and they do many things, but scaling and growth strategy are totally different. Microsoft, dominates the operating system, and it's like just a bit below of the 74%. And the Steve Jobs and Apple, they have another strategy, and they are also obsessed with the client. But once we look at the market share, we see that Apple hit the $3 trillion stock market value, and Microsoft follows them. But the strategy mapping and the growth strategy are totally different, and Microsoft way more users, and it's focused on the several products that serves masses. So this is the decision that we need to make. And the non-technical founders, mostly I hear that from the non-technical founders, I have an idea, I'm 100% sure that it's gonna work, but I don't know how to build this. Do I need a programmer? Do I need a tech team? Or should I work with one of the software company to make them deliver the product for me? Or do I need a technical co-founder? My humble opinion on this, programmers, excellent programmers we have, and they may create a perfect MVP. They can have this, but to be able to scale and to be able to grow, I think the entrepreneurs with the technical backgrounds, they can help better. So the non-technical founders, once they have this product, how are we gonna scale? Do we have the right team? Do we have the right technology? Do we have the right architecture? How can we keep this team together? How can we bring these brilliant brains together to have the brainstorming and to make these things bigger? You may need to shift. How we can shift that product, how we can control the system, the team, retention between them, how we can be the glue that brings and that keeps the team together. So it's okay to be a non-technical founder. For example, the biggest one is the Amazon. Amazon is not the first company who sells the book, and still Amazon is not the only company that have provide the marketplace for the client. And also, I'm not sure, but I don't think that the Jeff Bezos was waking up, start coding, checking the architecture, checking the pipelines. I don't think that he was that way, but he is amazing on idea, and he is amazing on the business side, how a company can obsess with the client and 100% focus that the end user, the client is happy about it. They don't think about source code. They don't think about the technical vendors or the other processes. What do they do think? Customer and business side. But how they succeed, they have the right CTO, right technology team, and then they scale together. So many things, we can discuss about it, both technical side, both non-technical founder side, and the CTO responsibilities. I just wanted to make the clear that what are the main responsibilities and how to manage the team. Do we need the CTO? Do we need a non-technical founder or the technical founder to scale? So this is the brief information about my talk, and I would like to move to the Q&A session, and I would like to get the questions if there is any. Thanks a lot for listening to me. And Asad, I think we can have you on board and to lead the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Melda. That was a very interesting talk. I loved how you draw the parallels between Jeff Bezos and then Microsoft. So it's very interesting because as a non-tech person myself, I obviously cannot appreciate it to the extent someone like yourself would. So it was quite insightful from that perspective.
Thank you.
So to get into some of the questions that we've had, I think let's kick it off with this one. We've spoken about the different people that have to be managed and the different stakeholders involved, but as an individual CTO, what would you say are 3 of the most important soft skills to have?
That's a very good question, actually, because that's also one of the things that I hear from them. And sometimes, I'm sorry to say that, but technical people, sometimes they said that, I wrote all the code, I built all the system, but why I'm here now and I want to achieve more? I think one of the most important soft skill is leadership, to be able to lead the team and keeping them motivated, setting the vision. What I was doing and what I am still doing is, this is our vision, this is our mission, and this is where we are, and we want to go here from A to B, and what will it take? So CTO should be able to lead this one, should be able to show the leadership, to lead the team, to understand them, all the metrics what we have been doing. This is number one, I think. Second is communication. So currently, the tech team is a global talent. So there might be cultural changes. There might be language barriers. So there should be, in a way, that the communication is super clear and we are delivering what we have been thinking and what are the ideas and the roadmap. The communication is the key. Miscommunication causes something else. Misalignment creates another problem. So having the right communication skills, it's very important. And third, I would say organization, because to be able to develop a scalable software system, there are some best practices, methodologies, but the stage that the startup has may require another type of organization. So, organizing the team, organizing the product, organizing the deployment processes, organizing the performance metrics, or maybe the success metrics, I think extremely important and valuable, especially in a startup environment.
Very valid points, and I'm sure, as you've realized in your experience, they've come very handy when you've had to deal with projects.
Yeah.
Or yeah, for sure. Another one that we've gotten is, where do the CTO's responsibilities end, and how do you deal with the overlap? Because I'm sure there's quite a fair bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, a startup, there is always someone, a little bit of everything. In the corporate life in general, what happens? You have a job description. These are your, the red lines. These are your green lines that you need to follow. So, of course, this is the ideal scenario. But on startup, that means that, especially if you innovate, it's normal to, have experience on many things. So personally, as Melda, what I like asking people opinions. I like giving them an opportunity to talk and express, because the thing that we do, actually, it's an innovation. So that stage, there are people, for example, this is a DevOps that we're going to do. This is the product management, and this is the role of the developers. But for the stage on the CTO that touches many of the line, but the key is right leadership and giving people the ownership, which comes again the subclass of the leadership, and then making them understand, and also to be able to understand what's people's skills and to be able to link. So this is actually what I was trying to say, is that hiring the tech team and keeping the retention and the writing down, and also the putting these lines between people. But honestly speaking, early stage, this is a little bit transparent. So that's not 100% the coordinate X or 100% the coordinate Y.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we have a little bit of a curveball coming your way in terms of a question. So going back to what you touched upon, the non-technical founders and how they also have a role to play, what would you say are the factors a non-technical founder can consider when recruiting a CTO for an early stage tech startup?
That's also the great. I got that question maybe 50 times. What I believe, again, it's based on my experience and my humble opinion. The first question is, are we building a tech startup, or are we building a one business startup that needs a technology? So that's very important. And what I do believe is, later stages, CTO position may change. But the ideal scenario is having someone, at least for, the couple of years together. Because this person, what I would look at it, number one is experience on coding and experience on building an architecture, to be able to understand the code structure. If it's an AI business, and this person should have the AI experience, and if the data science experience, at least to be able to understand. This person doesn't have to write all the codes. That's totally okay. But knowing the logic and having an experience on the product management, building the team, leading the team, to be able to hire the team. Because if you're a non-technical founder, you need someone to interview that people. Even you're a technical founder, by the way. This is the CTO's roles. They need to hire, they need to, sorry to say, fire. So that will be the process to be followed. I hope it helps.
No, I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Another one that we have a few more minutes to go through a couple of these questions. As a tech startup, in your opinion, how can you achieve commercial as well as technical success?
So I would classify as the two options. Uh, Technical founders also need someone for the business side who understand the metrics and the parameters of the commercial. But this is not a must, because one of the great example is Instagram. So they weren't making any money. They weren't doing any commercial. They were, as far as I remember, 13 people, and the valuation was $1 billion. So, and also my early, the experiences like 4 or 5 years back, I was a bit surprised that when I talked with a couple of startups, they were scaling massively, the 100,000 users. When I asked them, how do you make money? And they were telling me that we don't have the business model. And this, I was on the stage that I wasn't able to understand and process what they were talking about. But now, technical success, to be able to scale, I mean, the system shouldn't be down for many times. So this is one of the technical success. On the commercial side, it depends on what you want to do. There is one book, for example, one of my advisors they had given to me, Bliss Scaling. It's about, and also the free. Do we want to scale like, the crazy without thinking about the commercial side or the money financial side? It will be the free to scale, the product will be free. Or do we want to make money, or do we want to go a little bit slower? So I think I would put this subject based on the strategy and the growth plan. What is the scenario and what is the roadmap for the 2 3 years? And I would think how I would go and how I would achieve what I want to do. So that's a bit the strategic decision of the founders before thinking about creating the commercial strategy.
No, I think that's very spot on as well. Another one that comes to mind is, and I think this talks about the realm of CTOs and their significance, especially when the founder is from a non-technical background. Do you believe that in some spaces the CTO could potentially join as a partner and not as a full-time employee, especially when the founder is from a non-technical background?
I think my opinion, this person should be full time, because I mean, this is a startup, so this runs with the passion, and it requires a lot of work, the days, nights, weekends, because it comes from heart. D14 AI, I see it as my baby, and I would do whatever it takes. So it's like D14 AI is my top priority, even like, the family wise. So finding a person that has the same passion and to go with you. You're gonna be down many times. You feel up, you feel down. It's like that, like the matrix, you go up and down. But patience, being the persistence, embracing the change, that kind of things are so important. And I would say the CTO, especially the technical people, should be full time. I think they deserve to have some stock options as well. But for the employees, for the software developers, programmers, they might stay as an employee. But I think the best practice, the having the pool for them as well, having them full time. On top of that, because there is a word, sweat equity. So it's not easy to build a startup and also the scale. So it requires a lot of work, a lot of passion, a lot of commitment, and stock options and being full time. I think they would pay for it in tech startup, of course.
So that's a new term for me as well. I hadn't heard the one about sweat equity, so I'll definitely look into that one a bit later. So thank you for sharing the knowledge about that. I think we have time for just one or maybe two more questions. So you mentioned a lot of the responsibilities that you have to juggle between, and you have to wear a lot of hats, as we've already touched upon.
Yeah.
What one would you say has been the most challenging one out of all of the ones that you have to juggle between?
I think the most challenging one, hiring the team and keeping the team together. Because if you have the right team, you can build the MVP, you can innovate, you can develop the create the version 2, version 3, and then you can hire more people. So the most of the time, the 30%, 50%, the having the right team, the hiring the right team, because skills, standards, the passion, that's super important. We hire a little bit slower because we want to hire the great people to have our team, because everyone should bring the level up, and we need to be the one page. Many startup look at it, what happens, the many startup they fail, and they say that 98% of the startup they fail. Why? Because they don't have the right team, which means they don't have the right chemistry, they don't have the right talent, and they don't know how to keep them together. So without people, without right team, I think it's impossible to succeed. Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. And the role of talent and a team in building a startup is just, you cannot stress upon it enough. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, Melda. This was such a wonderful session. Thank you for your time and for joining us. And we
so
hope the audience also, I'm sure, have taken away quite a few key insights. And thank you once more.
Thank you so much. It was a great talking to you, and I hope I was able to reply all the questions. And I'm also the entrepreneur, so if anyone have any other questions, please feel free to reach me out through social media, LinkedIn, whatever works for you best. Happy to support. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you, Melda. You have a